Just a quick message before this video starts. It is quite a long one, and in most parts you can literally just listen to it in the background while doing other stuff. There will be some images on the screen at times which relate, but I'll point them out during it. Apart from that, I'm just going to use this time and screenplay to show off some of your guys' teams that you've sent me. And yeah, just enjoy it. I didn't expect it to be this long in the end, but we got very thorough with it, and I hope you appreciate it all and enjoy it if you have. And yeah, we'll jump into it now. Peace. Yes, lads, joebiline here, and today I wanted to talk about matchmaking and overall, and just more bits about versus attack in general. So about matchmaking, about why EA don't use overall, how matchmaking works, the things behind it, what goes into place, and all of that stuff. So I've wrote a script I'm going to go through, and on the screen there'll just be a host of things, a lot of people's teams, your teams that you've submitted. Mainly just want to show you the different types of overall. And then why overall isn't always the best way to matchmake. So first of all, I just want to be clear that this is why I don't think EA don't use overall as a way to matchmaking versus attack. This is all based on my experience with a number of different games, including console FIFA and other online multiplayer games. Now, versus attack is FIFA Mobile's new game mode, and that, in a lot of regards, can be classed, I feel, as a competitive game mode. This isn't the old attack mode, but it does share some familiar themes, names, goals. However, most of them are apart alike only by their names. So like FIFA Champion, like Fan Count. They've used the same name for a lot of the stuff, but they do mean different things and have different expectations now. So matchmaking in versus attack uses an ELO system. So if you play other online games, you may have heard of ELO ratings referenced before. The ELO rating system is a method of calculating a player's skill level based on numerous factors. It's originated in chess, believe it or not. Chess is where a lot of like the skill ratings we know today have come from. But in recent years, a lot of online games have been using them. One of the pop games that we know most popularly used them is League of Legends. So I'm not trying to say I'm an expert in ELO rating systems, but I do have enough of an understanding to know how it works. It's just always one of the ones that's kind of hard to explain. So, but to summarise it, the ELO system essentially works by the more wins you have, the more ELO points or skill points. So, ELO points are essentially skill points, and the more wins you in any game you have, the higher your skill points are going to be, because more wins would suggest that you're a better player. So, say you're playing in a tournament, or like where you could come up against anybody of any skill. If you've got a lower ELO rating, you're probably expected to lose that game, but if you were to win, you would then take more ELO points off of your opposition, because they have a high ELO, you have a low ELO, you win more because you weren't expected to, and then that higher rating player would lose more skill points than expected. So say the low rated player has an ELO rating of 50 and the high player has an ELO rating of 20, normally a win would earn you 100. Say normally a win would earn you 10 points. Well, in this case, maybe the lower rated will win 15 points, and the higher rated player would lose 15 points. Whereas if somebody of 100 and 100 faced each other, the winner would gain 10, and maybe the loser would only lose 5, and things like that. So now that's sort of like the basic understanding of ELO. So versus attack uses an ELO system match you up. Now, at the early day, this is a new game mode. It's been going on for nearly a week now. Obviously, the first few days there was connecting at all issues, so we're only a couple of days into really playing it properly. And with a new game mode comes everyone's at a 0 skill rating, which means you could come up against absolutely anybody, which is open to interpretation. Well, not interpretation, that's the wrong word. It's open to meaning you could come up against absolute rubbish people, you could come up against absolutely good people. At the moment, the ELO systems are all over the place, the ELO ratings, because we haven't played enough yet to establish what our ELO rating is. Because at a stage with ELO ratings, you get to a point where your ELO rating stays the same. You'll make wins and your ELO rating won't necessarily go up anymore, because you've sort of reached your area, and losses won't really affect your ELO rating either. Now, in most games that have ELO systems, you don't actually see your ELO rating, your skill system. You don't know what it is. FIFA Mobile have decided to make that public to you, so we can see it, because our ELO rating is essentially our fan count. There are some other factors that come into the ELO rating on versus attack, but we're not sure what they are exactly. but we do know that your overall has little impact on your ELO rating. So in other games that wouldn't be much of a problem, because individual player skill should usually always come out on top in most situations. Problem you get with FIFA Mobile is that if you're using a higher overall, it means that you'll get a better chance and your opponent will get worse chances in the game, because we have had great chances, they good chances, basic and so on. Which is where the problem of saying, should we maybe use overalls to match people up, because that way you're then getting the same amount of chances in the game as opposed to not. Because although now I do feel to a plus or minus 5 overall difference, you can play against each other with similar chances and the person with better skill will shine through, it still means that literally somebody with like 80 rating coming against someone with 100 rating, literally just due to the amount of counters and great chances for the high team, literally, unless the person isn't playing, pretty much has no chance, unfortunately. So that's where the argument comes in that overall should be included in the matter. But then where's the incentive to have a high rated team if it just means that you don't get any extra chance? By having that incentive to have a high rated team to get the better chances, it pushes you forward to, one, want to do better, and two, in turn EA will hope that it generates them revenue. At the end of the day, EA are a business, they're not a charity. They do need to make revenue, and that's not EA as a whole, but EA's individual businesses and games, because if FIFA Mobile wasn't making the money, then they'd stop FIFA Mobile. It's as simple as that. So FIFA Mobile does have that problem where by not using overalls, it does mean that higher rated teams will have better chances. Like in console, it's not a problem, because where am I? In console, although it would be hard, a 60 rated team could beat a 90 rated team, because you're both in that same game with the same chance for the same opportunities. The higher rated player will know what he's doing and should be able to negate the difference in player skill by their ability. But as I was saying earlier, obviously we're in FIFA Mobile version 6 now. In version 5, when they changed up the difficulty and all that, it was literally near on impossible for someone with a lower rated team to beat a high rated team because of how many counters they've got. In version 6, they have addressed that slightly. Well, I feel they've made a good address on this at the moment, but because of the versus attack ELO rating's not been figured out yet, it's still to some appearing like it's not been. But they have introduced the basic chances now. They're the ones where you pretty much start in your own half, usually centralist, so after a roulette or two you can normally get a scoring opportunity. So they've introduced basic chances, and I've found that on most part now, as long as there's a plus or minus 5 overall difference, you won't really get counters. You'll get a few basic chances instead, which is great, because a basic chance, although unless you've mastered them you may not score from them, you're definitely not going to concede from them. Anyway, back to the matchmaking issue. Fan count in attack mode was largely meaningless. If anything, it just represented someone's ability to grind the game and didn't show someone's skill ability. Like, I don't think anyone ever thought, oh, they've got all those fans, what's this gonna do? What do we do now? Oh dear, we can't play someone this many fans. Fans just meant that you grinded a lot. It didn't although in most part, if you did have, for the extreme end, if you had a lot of fans, then you'd expect them to be good at the game because they're spending that much time on the game. But fan count definitely didn't actually really mean anything. In versus attack mode, the fan count are your skill points. The higher your fan count, the better you are at versus attack mode. Of course, if you've got a higher team, then you would be expected to be higher because you're getting the better chances and stuff. But in most parts, and especially I think after a few weeks, after a month maybe, we will see that the better players at the game will be higher up. There'll still be people with high teams in the lower divisions just because they're not that good at the game. And if, obviously, a lot of you, when I was getting your teams earlier, it seemed like a lot of you were in between that 95 to 100 rating for most of you, and that's for the people who are playing this game free to play and not spending on it. I have seen quite a few people with free to play teams that are in that 100 rating, and unless you're competing against the few players that have like 105 to 108, those are the ones who have already completed Blue Star Hazard, you've got just as chance as anybody to beat those people with the 100 and 304 rated teams like me. I've been playing people. I've lost to people with 100 rating. I've beat people with 108 rating. The opportunity, the skill difference does count for plus to -5 overall. It's just that issue at the moment where you're getting people with low 90s, mid 90s facing those ones with 100, 200, 300, 105 and so on. That's where it's a bit unfair. But I do think over time that will sort itself out. Now, as I was saying, I think one of the main mistakes EA have made with Versus Attack Mode is by calling them the fan count, because by having it as a fan count, it's so easy to just associate with how fan count worked in Attack Mode, and it doesn't. They mean different things, and I think if EA call them skill points, something like that, just any other different name, and probably explain them easier, because they haven't actually really explained them properly. It's sort of been up to us to work out what they mean and what they do, and me speak to them a bit to find out a bit more into it, to look into it so I can get this information out to you guys. And yeah, your fan count, it's essentially your skill rating, it's your skill points. So we need to just stop looking at them how they were before. Forget what you know. Well, you can remember it for old time's sake, but when you're looking at Versus Attack Mode, forget what you know about Attack Mode and what that all did. They mean different things now. I've mentioned previously on Twitter in my previous videos, I do think the fan gain and loss needs tweaking. Because of it, how they want it to be with skill points, I don't think it should change too much. But a draw definitely shouldn't be 0 points, because I've played a few games where I've been proud to draw. I've been struggling, and then I scored a last-minute equaliser, well, a last second, should I say. And I was like, yes, I'm so happy I've drawn that now. But then I haven't gained anything. I suppose I could look at it, well, at least I haven't lost anything now. But I feel like in real football, 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, no points for a loss. You should really be going for about, I think, so yeah, 7.5k is the win. We're keeping it at that mark. I'd say 2.5, 3k for a draw, and then about 5k for a loss. So you're still getting a loss, except one loss doesn't wipe out a full win, and you're at least getting a bit of a token gain for a draw, because heck, draws can win you championships, draws can win you titles. Like, some very, very, very important title winning campaigns have come from people picking up necessary draws. So they are important, and I don't think they should be definitely done. So, where were we at? We were talking about the ratings there. However, I believe the reason why I believe AF started with it is just 7.5k, give or take. I know you get a little less or a little more. I'll go into that a little later on. 0 for a tie and 7.k for the loss, is because that's what would essentially be happening to your skill rating in the background in other games. But as I was saying earlier, because FIFA Mobile have made your skill rating public in form of your fan counts, we're seeing it happen more, and it's almost depressing us more, because we're seeing, oh, we've just lost that. But if EA didn't make our skill rating public to us, we wouldn't be thinking, oh, I've just lost exactly the same amount. We wouldn't know that. But because EA have tied in your ELO rating with potential rewards, it is more demotivating for us, or it's more rewarding as we're seeing it go up. So that's why back in attack mode, once again we're looking at attack mode, and things in attack mode were different to how they are now. FIFA Champion was just, if you wanted to reach FIFA Champion, you just had to grind, and depending on how good you were and how good your team was, you'd get there quicker or a little bit longer, but you could always get to FIFA Champion each season if you wanted to. The rules have changed here now. The expectations have changed. We're not expected to reach FIFA Champion every season anymore, and EA don't expect us to either. Hence why they've reduced the fans required. Hence why, well, the fan amount have changed because they're being used for the skill points instead of just an arbitrary sum going up and up and up. Think of this, and there's no divisional demotions each season now. Tomorrow, well, later on today, when the first season ends, you'll stay in the same division you're in. You'll go back to the base fans for that division. So for World Class 3, you'd go back to 420. Yep. But you don't go. The only way to go up or down a division is by winning or losing games. And I feel they've looked to console FIFA with FUT Champions and Weekend League here. Like Elite and Top 100, it's only reached by those who are truly good at the game. And they've now made the divisions, so the same applies here. You shouldn't expect to just reach FIFA Champion easily. FIFA Champion is something to be proud of and something you've got to work towards and aim to get to. And only the best will get there. Obviously, as we were saying earlier, due to the way higher overalls do get better chances, it's going to be easier for them. EA want to give people who keep the game running and keep the game alive and funded an incentive, and that's what they do. They get the better chances. Whether we or you or I or anyone agrees with that or not, EA are a business and they need to find a way to make revenue, so that will come into play. It happens with all mobile games. People who pay get better. It's not a console game where you're paying for the amount at the start of the game and then it goes on. This is a free game, and to keep a free game going, they have to give it an incentive, and that's just business in situations like that. So it is easier for them. They've also added them packs. I don't think the packs are particularly worth it, and of course they're not really worth it at all unless you're at FIFA Champion itself. And then that would just mean that once you've reached FIFA Champion, it'll allow you to get the tokens quicker, because you can only buy the packs for the rating that you're in, the division you're in. So they're not actually really that useful for the first few divisions. Like, I don't think anyone's really going to be spending 2,000 FIFA points to be getting a 92 rated David Luiz quicker. Maybe when you get to FIFA Champion, people may start paying 2,000, 10,000 to get David Luiz a few weeks earlier. That'll be their decision. I personally don't think they're worth it, and I'd rather just play it out and wait for it to come. But hey, you never know when temptation and money available to you comes up at the time. So, back to the point. They've looked to FIFA Champions for there, and FIFA Champion is now a truly amazing accomplishment. At the end of the day, instead of getting like a 94 rated Danny Rose left back that's got pretty decent boosts and all of that, the end goal now is a 100 rated player in pretty important goalkeeper and centre back, or goalkeeper and centre back more importantly, are very important positions, and a 100 rated player with some very, very good stats and a +1 overall boost to boost everyone in your team by +1 overall is a very big prize. Obviously, you get them upgraded along the way, so as you're working towards them, similarly to how we're working towards the Blue Star Hazard. It's a progression over time thing. It's not here's a player for 2 weeks, you can have another one in 2 weeks, and so on and so on. This is a truly, truly great prize to be going for, and they want us to carry on working for it. Now, that's the reason why you don't always get 7. Where am I? So, as I was saying, truly overall's higher. Yeah, that can impact it. That's it. So, a lot of you may have noticed it's 7.5k you're supposed to get. However, 7.5k isn't what you always get. In certain situations, you may get 7.4, 6, 6.5, 8. Now, the reason for these 6.5, the 7s, the 7.5s, the 8s, the 8.5s is that, as was mentioned earlier, fan count is your skill rating. And as with ELO systems was mentioned earlier, the higher your skill rating versus a lower skill rating can affect how many ELO points you gain from that victory. So if you face somebody with a higher fan count than you, you will gain more fans if you win, and you will lose less fans if you lose, and vice versa. So if you lose to someone with a lower fan rating than you, you will lose more points. And that's why it's slightly higher. I believe it's capped at 6.5 and 8.5k either side, so 1k difference either side, as to not go too crazy. But that's why you'll receive different fans each time. Now, yeah, this video is getting very, very long, but on to why EA don't use overall to matchmake. If you ever played console FIFA, you'll know that single matches is based on the team rating rather than the ELO rate. You play the player's ELO rating, which in most parts is great. However, people do abuse this system. You'll probably have heard of bronze benching, putting lower rated players in certain positions that don't have too much impact to lower the overall and to then come up against lower rated teams. Now, this is something that could be very easily abused in FIFA Mobile. It's something that EA and other online games still haven't been able to crack a way of making sure that matchmaking for overall isn't abused and cheated on as such. Well, I wouldn't really call it cheating. You could in some aspects call it cheating, but it's about abusing it. Console still has this problem to this day. FIFA Mobile, I imagine, still would, because it's very hard, because especially FIFA Mobile, we have two ratings. We have the 27 man squad overall rating, and then we have the individual starting 11 overall, and you have numerous individual 11s amongst that 27. So we've already seen an example of this from the attack mode and League versus League. People put low rated game changers, bronze players in their unused positions, and then you've seen people on the map with 80 to 85 overalls, but you go into the game and they've got 100 plus starting 11, and that's the issue we could face here. And that furthers the problem, because we've got that issue, but then what if you're using starting 11 based, so you match people based on their starting 11, so the overall based on last selected, but then similar to the full squad problem, you could make a first 11 low as a decoy, so like a 3-5-2 with a low amount of players, but then quickly in game, when you get matched up, you change your formation to like the 4-4-2, and you're all of a sudden higher rated, and you've matched unfairly there. So that's a few problems to look at it instantly, looking at those two overall. But if we dig deeper, starting 11 overall matchmaking, overalls can easily be abused. Now the team on screen at the moment is one that I was messing around with, and we know that in FIFA Mobile, most formations only 3 to 5 players usually actually get given the ball drawing chances. So that would leave us open to put low rated players in positions that we know will never get the ball or affect our ability during the game. So for example, this team now, it says 80 rated, but I've put the best keeper in the game. If I come up against somebody who's genuinely using an 80 rated team, so an 80 rated team is likely going to be mainly gold with maybe a few low rated elites, they're going to struggle to get past Team of the Year Neuer, and that's if they manage to get past Player of the Month Ramos. And they're doing the defensive work for me. I've then filled a few more positions, my right striker, my right centre mid, my right wing back and my camp, because I know in that 5-2-1-2 box overload or full back rush, they're the players that get the ball 95% of the time. So I can still play to the same ability I would had I got a 100 rated team, but instead I'm now matching myself up against 80 teams. And you may think, well, that's not going to happen every time, but all it takes is for people to start sharing tactics with their friends on Twitter, on Reddit, on Facebook, people doing squad builders on YouTube. Like I could do the ultimate low rated, high rated squad builder with this team you see right here. People make similar teams, and all of a sudden the matchmaking's getting abused. People are using cheat squads, which is probably what YouTubers would clickbait this and give the names as a title as for the teams, like the ultimate cheat squad, play low rated players and win every game easily. It can be abused, and it would be abused. We know it would be abused. So that's one of the other issues EA has with going for overall based matchmaking. So, skill point matchmaking though, tough at the moment. I do believe will be best in the end, because after a while you will start coming against players of similar skill, and you'll beat them. You'll run close with them, because at the end of the day, there's nothing better than having a nicely fought contested match. I've got to be honest, in attack mode I was getting bored of just playing every game and not really caring about the score. I never felt challenged. Maybe some of you guys don't like challenging aspects and would prefer to just have fun. Maybe they can add like a single matches mode so you can go play it without any rush. Like on console you have FIFA FUT Champions to play if you want the competitive, and your single matches. Maybe EA introduce single matches so you can play based on overall, however you don't get a reward from it. If you want a reward, you have to take the risk of going against people who may be better than you, and that's how that is. I guess that would work. Add a single matches mode, you can experiment, play with whatever squad you want. You'll just know that you won't be getting rewarded for it in terms of working towards those 100 rated cards. And also, skill point matchmaking has, from a business point of view, EA needs to give people incentive to chase after and want the high rated cards. So as we touched on earlier, they need to make sure people are buying FIFA points to keep the game alive and to keep the makers of the game in a job, because whether you like the staff at EA FIFA Mobile division or not, they're people like us out there making a wage, making a living, and if people weren't buying FIFA points, they'd have to find new jobs or be on the streets. That's how extreme it could be. Obviously, previous FIFA mobiles weren't profitable for EA. That's why they got rid of them and changed them to how they did. The previous ones just didn't work as a revenue generating mobile game. If you want, there are real simulation games out there now, like PES, Dream League. You can go play them if you want to play your 90-minute simulation games. But FIFA are making a game that works. And by works, I mean works in a mobile industry. This is their most successful FIFA Mobile game they've made, and it's also EA's most diverse game ever. And what I mean by that is there's more people from more countries in the world playing this game than any other EA game. There's people from all over the world, and you notice that in the comments on Twitter, on Instagram, everywhere. People play this game from all over the world, and it's connected to everyone. It's so accessible because pretty much nearly every phone can handle it. It is, in essence, I like to think of it at times, it's a mobile game similar to the likes of Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, all of those lot, but with a football theme. It's a football version. It's a mobile version of a football game for how mobile games sell nowadays. And it's got the advantage of being officially licensed by FIFA for names, teams and kits, and it being part of the EA FIFA footballing family. It's nearing 100 million downloads, and it's got a very active player base. So they're not doing anything too bad. And like I've said numerous times before, I do feel at times this is like a beta. They've got some things wrong, they've made some mistakes, but they've done a lot of right things, and it's clearly working for them because they've got the player base and they're getting the revenue in they need to continue running the game and allow them to employ more staff. The staff team is growing bigger. If it wasn't doing well, the staff team wouldn't be getting bigger. And the more staff they have, the more time they can dedicate to making the game as best as it can be. Most of the staff at the moment only work weekdays, normal hours. We know with like console FIFA, they've got people working all around the clock, all the time. Hopefully FIFA Mobile can get to that stage. But at the moment, most of the stuff they do is orientated about normal Canadian Vancouver working hours. Anyway, we've definitely digressed now, and this video is nearing 30 minutes. So thank you to everyone who has listened to it all. I hope it's made some things clearer for you. Obviously, a lot of this has just been based on my thoughts, and not even necessarily my own thoughts. Matchmaking, I would love it to be overall based, because then you can experiment with other squads and all of that, but it's just not always feasible because people abuse it. From my years of playing FIFA console, playing with silver teams, I was always coming against people who were bronze benching and masking their squads with random faulty players and then making substitutions, and it was a pain. It was a pain because people were abusing the system, and that happens, but that's sometimes how it has to be. But to summarise, I do believe Evo will come good as time progresses. Reaching FIFA Champion in Versus Attack will be a truly special achievement from when anyone reaches it, and I do believe over time a lot of people will reach it. It's just not going to be as quick as it was before. Heck, I'm in World Class 3 now, and it's definitely challenging. I like that aspect. I do think they'll make some tweaks. I've sent a bunch of feedback over to them. They know certain aspects are already quite hard themselves, so I do expect to see changes. Not sure how quickly they'll be or not. It may be a case that they can implement them quickly. They may need to do a new title update for them. Either way, I've sent it all over what you sent to. Thanks for all your suggestions and your comments. I do read them all, although I can't always reply because I'm rarely busy. Obviously, I do a full-time job than YouTube as a hobby on the side. I am going to EA Play next week, so I will be meeting with EA personally in LA, speaking to them. I'll obviously be speaking to them about the future of the game a lot. I'll be sharing with you what I can. Obviously, some stuff that it may be confidential and private to reveal at a later date. But I'll share with you guys as much as I can. And as always, try to make you aware of everything that's going on, how things work. So I hope you appreciate that. So do leave a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who did watch this all. I didn't expect it to be 30 minutes. I was originally wanting it to be about 5-10 minutes. But I just realised there was just so much to say and so much to talk about. And this was scripted. This wasn't just me rattling on. I've wrote it all down and it ended up being like this. So do leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. Come follow me on Twitter at joebilineHD. And I'll see you all later. Peace.
But behind closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.